If you remember in our last packet, there was actually a letter from Mr. Adam Barub asking for the closing of Church Street so that they could have Dagon Alley and put some food trucks and so on out there. He was not the licensee, but the licensee, Amy Schaffman, agreed to roll those things into her license, which was done at a protocol meeting. So other than those changes, there's no other changes from other years, and we wish them a great event.
The motion is to carry out the intent of the committee report. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Our next item is also from the Planning Licenses and Development Committee. It is a request to serve alcohol on city right-of-way adjacent to Railroad Square, and the request is coming in on behalf of Madame Cherie's Lounge. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that Madame Cherie's Lounge be permitted to place tables and chairs on the grassed-in area immediately east of Railroad Square pavers for the serving of food and alcohol to patrons seated in the cafe area Monday through Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and Thursday through Sunday, noon to 9:30 p.m. This license is conditional upon the following, subject to the customary licenses and requirements of the City Council, compliance with any requirements of Chapter 46 of the Code of Ordinances, compliance with the sidewalk cafe guidelines issued by staff, that the area encumbered shall not extend beyond the easterlymost entrance to the building, that a buffer of at least 1 foot be maintained from the edge of the multi-use trail pavement to the fenced enclosure structure, tables and chairs be removed when Railroad Square is utilized by any community event licensed by the city or any event scheduled through the Parks and Rec Department. No materials, gravels, or any alterations to the site may be made without prior approval of staff. Property needs to be maintained and returned to its original state at the expiration of the license, with staff reviewing the condition of the area at the end of the season to determine any needed maintenance. This license expires March 1, 2025.
Counselor Jones for a motion.
I move the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Jones and seconded by Counselor Bosley. Counselor Jones for the committee.
Okay, this is for a restaurant now called Madame Cherie's Lounge. Used to be Hennessy's, used to be Scores, used to be other things. We're all familiar with it. Many of them have had sidewalk cafe type arrangements outside. We're used to that. It doesn't come under our sidewalk cafe license per se. It comes under the resolution for parks and for actually Central Square and Railroad Square. Adam Topher did appear before us. He's one of 3 managing partners of Madame Cherie's. He did agree to all the conditions set out at the protocol meeting. The one change is the closing time will now be 9:30 p.m. and Adam has agreed to close all his doors on that side of the building and stop service at that time. That was something that I think one of the counselors had requested, that we have an earlier closing time. With that, the council agreed to this amendment.
Thank you. Any further comments from counselors? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Next is, again, Planning Licenses and Development Committee, this one dealing with the request to use city property for a tree lighting ceremony, sponsors being the Kiwanis Club. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the King Kiwanis Club be granted permission to use downtown city rights-of-way on Friday, November 29th to conduct the annual tree lighting festival, conditional upon the following. The furnishing of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured, the signing of a standard revocable license and identification agreement, that the petitioner agree to absorb the cost of any services over and above the amount of city funding allocated to the event, and agrees to remit payment within 30 days of invoicing, that the agreed-upon footprint and layout for the event shall encumber Central Square, including the traveled portion of the road requiring the road closures, Central Square West Street at Central Square, Roxbury Street from west of the Hannah Grimes parking lot to Central Square, Washington Street from Vernon Street to Central Square, and Court Street from Winter Street to Central Square. The actual event will be held 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. with the times for setup and cleanup to be established with staff. Free parking is granted under the provisions of the free parking policy for the following use of spaces with dates, times, and locations to be determined in coordination with the parking division for volunteer parking during pre-event setup and post-event breakdown activities, and spaces within the event footprint on the day of the event. And finally, said permission is granted subject to obtainment of any necessary licenses or permits, compliance with all laws, and compliance with any recommendations of staff.
Counselor Jones for the
I move
motion.
the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Jones and seconded by Counselor Bosley. Counselor Jones for the committee.
This is a good week to be talking about winter festivals. When we're fighting 90-degree weather out here. Peg Bruce, who's been before us 13 times already, of the Keene Kiwanis Club, has presented for the annual tree lighting ceremony. We're very familiar with this. It's going to happen the same as other years. One change, they've asked that no porta potties be required this year. Staff did agree to that at their conference. It's only a 3-hour session from 5 to 8, so it was deemed not necessary. You know, this is just one of many things that the Kiwanis does for us. We see it we just see this every year because they need a license. But if I may, Your Honor, if I could add some other things that the Kiwanis does for the community. Every year they do a bike rodeo, each spring, a bike rodeo. They gave 211 helmets out this year and almost 350 last year. 3 scholarships, one $2,000 each to a graduating senior at Keene High School, Monadnock High, and graduating members of the Kiwanis Key Club, and a third for the $1,000 to a Keene High graduate seeking education in medical field. Donations to other nonprofits who support children. Last year, we gave out $25,000 in community service grants. This year, we're aiming to donate a total of $15,000. Last year, we also awarded 2 special grants, $5,000 to Keene Bike Park to purchase 10 BMX bicycles to be available for use at the bike park at Wheelock Park, along with a dozen bike helmets to go with them, at $15,000 to the Cheshire County Sheriff's Office to purchase a popsicle trailer, which they now have and use to meet and greet children while giving them free popsicles or ice cream. I didn't know that. I never got one. Copsicle, because cops are handing out ice cream. We do various fundraising events, and when I say we, I mean they. An annual appeal at the beginning of the year requests for businesses to support specific grants, i.e. the tree lighting, Cool Wheels Family Fun, and Safety Day. We sponsor the games of Chance at the Wonder Casino for 10 days each year and hold a golf tournament each August. Our community is extremely generous, and their donations help us to fund other efforts. Our expenses in 2023 for tree lighting were $2,109, and our expenses in 2024 for the bike rodeo are $6,552. Our members are volunteers. Their time for all their efforts, as well as helping the community agencies and the events when possible. We are entirely a volunteer service organization and have been a club since 1989. We currently have 38 members. And when I say we, I mean they.
Thank you, Counselor Jones. Any further comments from counselors? I appreciate the rundown of all the ways that Kiwanis Club is supporting our community, but relative to this request, this tree lighting ceremony isn't just a ceremony, it's something that lights up our community for a good chunk of the year when it's darkest out at night, and really appreciate all the work that they put into decorating our community at that time of year. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor of carrying out the committee's intent? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Carrying on with planning licenses and development, this is the warrant for unlicensed dogs. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that the City Council issue a warrant for unlicensed dogs pursuant to NHRSA 466:14 to direct the City Clerk's Office and the Keene Police Department to issue a civil forfeiture to those dog owners who have failed to license their dog by April 30, 2024.
Counselor Jones for the committee.
I move the intent of the committee report.
Second.
And moved by Counselor Jones and seconded by Counselor Bosley. Counselor Jones for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just our annual report. Pursuant to RSA, we have to stay within the state standards. I have to congratulate the members of our staff because they go above and beyond to try and contact those who haven't been. They do it by email, they do it by phone call, they do it by snail mail. They do everything they can to avoid getting people put on this warrant list. And the list will grow, the list of those licensed will grow as warrants go out now. So we do have about 3,400 to 3,800 dogs that will be registered by the end of the year. And the main reason for this, somebody asked this at the meeting, it goes back in history because it was a way of controlling rabies. That's what first started this in the state of New Hampshire. Somebody gave the year, and I forget what it was. It was in the 1940s. And so it does have a purpose. I did ask my dog Miley one time, I said, is this something, if we didn't have this, how would it be? And she said, rough.
Thank you, Counselor Jones. Anybody have a second to that? Okay, seeing no further barking from the council. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
All right, shifting gears to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. The first item is a request for the city to quitclaim any interest it has in a former railroad easement that is at 120 Emerald Street. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a release deed of the city's interest in real property, AKA a railroad easement, impacting the property at 120 Emerald Street, more particularly depicted on a certain plan entitled Right-of-Way and Tract Map, Connecticut River R.R. Company, operated by the Boston and Maine Railroad Station, and being a portion of the property interest conveyed to the city in the quitclaim deed recorded at the Cheshire Registry of Deeds, Book 1259, page 0808, and further to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute and accept a sidewalk easement in a form acceptable to the city engineer and the city attorney.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy.
I will not be able to top that.
It would be rough, yeah.
So we were joined by Attorney Rich. He's representing the current owner of the building at 120 Emerald Street. And he is part of the transaction that's about to come to fruition where they're selling the property to the property owner. However, the property manager, I should say. However, when he was doing the research at the county office, he determined that there's a small piece of the old railroad right-of-way that has a 4-story building built on it, namely 120 Emerald Street. It was missed in the last research when the building was designed and built there, and picked it up, and he'd like to get that squared away so when it transfers this time, there'll be no strings attached to it. Their request was reviewed by the new Public Works Director, the City Attorney's Office, and it all meets the requirements, and it's really the right thing to do to clean it up. So it unanimously passed at FOP. Would like the City Council to do the same. Thank you.
Further comments from councilors? Seeing none, all in favor to carry out the intent? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to an engineering services for a water storage tank repair project. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a contract with Weston and Sampson, Inc. for engineering services for the 3 million gallon water storage tank repair project in an amount not to exceed $127,550.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers and seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. This action tonight will take another step towards the rehabilitation. Although the first thought when that particular tower was looked at is perhaps it needed to be replaced. But over the course of the last, actually coming up on 5 years, a number of reviews, inspections, and looking at it, and it was decided, based on the best information given to us, that it could be rehabilitated. However, that's not a small project. Along the line, it's been included in the CIP, so some of the financing continues to accumulate as we move forward. So we're at the point now where we could have an engineer begin to design the build information, the bid process, and the entire supervision of the project. So they went out for an RFP and came out with Weston and Sampson as an engineering services for the project and repair project for the amount to the engineering of $127,550. FOP unanimously recommends that the city council approve it, and it will start moving forward. Thank you.
Any further comments from councilors? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to a grant funding for the sludge pump replacement project. On a vote of 5 to 0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to execute, accept, and expend a state aid grant fund from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for the sludge pump replacement project.
Councilor Powers for the committee. For a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This case, the money's coming back instead of it going out. This project was down at the sewer treatment plant where a large portion of the pump portions of the operation have been replaced over the course of the last couple of years to be much more efficient and really to make up the difference in how we operate since this plant has been together for the last 30 years. So project has moved forward, and now we're in a position where we can apply for the state aid grant. Department of Environmental Services will most likely look favorably on this because we do so well. However, for the manager to be able to apply and go through the particular paperwork that is required, they need the approval from the city council. So FOP recommends the city council pass this evening. Thank you.
Further comments from councilors? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to sale of some city property on Beaver Street. On a vote of 5 to 0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city sell 270 Beaver Street through a sealed bid process and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute the sale with the chosen bidder.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers and seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. So 270 Beaver Street is now a vacant lot. That property came back to the city because of a non-payment in taxes in 2016. After the property was taken, and every attempt that we make prior to a taking and every attempt since the taking to have that bill settled was to no avail. So the property was put up for sale, open bid, no takers. And in the interim, the building began to deteriorate. After that particular point where there were no takers for a sale, the city authorized, because it was a hazard, declared as a hazard, to remove the property. So that incurred an additional expense. So we're now at the point where we want to try this again. It's a little over an acre of land. It's a reasonable size for a building lot, but there may be some other issues that would have to be dealt with, but I'm sure somebody could be creative enough to do that. So with the authorization from the city council this evening, it'll go out to bid, sealed bid, and certainly the assessor and the city manager will come up with a plan, but if it doesn't meet, if any bid we get and doesn't meet what we need to cover it, some decision will be made. But at any rate, we should be moving forward. We're into it for about $35,000. So we're looking for the authorization for the city manager to negotiate and execute the sale with a chosen bidder. We ask that you do the same. Thanks.
Any further comments from councilors? Councilor Williams?
Thank you. This property is in my neighborhood, and I have a particular interest in it because it's just a block away. I've done my best to clear out some invasive species from that, so I'm pretty familiar with it. There is, right adjacent to it is one of the worst pieces of Keene infrastructure we have, which is a very broken down set of stairs going from Terrace Street to Beaver Street. It's one of the major ways that people in my neighborhood access Robin Hood Park to go up those stairs. But they're completely inaccessible in winter. In summer, they're mostly washed out. So I would hope that as part of this sale of this property, we could probably get a better price if we fixed up those stairs a bit, or if we dedicated some of the proceeds to fixing that infrastructure. And that's something that would really be very important to that neighborhood, which otherwise, you know, it's a pretty long walk around Terrace Street to get down if you can't take those stairs. And right now, you know, it's an eyesore. It's not great for the neighborhood, and I hope we can address it.
I appreciate those words.
Want me to say something?
City manager?
Happy to look into it. First, I'll determine ownership of the stairs and the location of the land, and then we'll come up with a plan to address it.
Councilor Bosley?
I don't want to misspeak, but I do recall these stairs being addressed when we were discussing the potential Robin Hood projects. And I believe that there was some funds that would be allocated to access to the park, and they were on the list at that point. So I know it is part of our plan to upgrade them. I just don't know what the timeline looks like for that yet.
I guess we'll look to the manager to come back to us and inform us the status. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of carrying out the intent of the committee report? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Turn to the city manager for her report.
Just a couple of updates for you this evening. You stole my thunder
I'm so
about
sorry.
community
Do it
night.
again.
I wanted to also thank everyone. There was a lot of effort that went into community night, and it was the first one we've had since before COVID. And I was a little nervous that we wouldn't have as much public participation, but it started slow, but then it gained momentum, and we did have quite a bit of public participation. So that was great, and I think next time we do it, it'll be even bigger. And it was a really hot night, and it was the first time we've ever used the fire department's little fan that you hook up to a hose, and so that people could cool off if they wanted to, and I think that was also a hit. But this was coordinated and brought forward by our Personnel Advisory Board, and if you're not aware of how they are formed, we have representatives from across the organization that are elected to these positions, and they meet, I'm not sure if it's monthly or quarterly, but on a regular basis, and they discuss different items in the city. And they brought this up about bringing it forward, and Beth Fox, our HR director, was a big part of coordinating this effort. And it was a huge lift. So for those of you that attended, there was a lot of equipment there. We had staff from all of the departments. We had information inside and outside of the building. And the food that was shared was all through donations. So there was a big effort to collect donations in advance of the event, to have the hamburgers available, but also the ice cream. And included in the donations were the unions. So the city has several unions, and some of them donated the ice creams at the different tables. I think there was a little competition going on. So, and then we had a scavenger hunt and tried to make it fun. And so it was a really great community event, and it was nice to have it back again. And there's a lot of credit that goes to a lot of people, so I just want to thank all of them. And then I also had just one more update, and it's about the parking office and the June 19th event and holiday. And so there was some confusion, which created some frustration. There was confusion for our users of the system who felt that it was a federal holiday and therefore all holidays are exempt from having to pay for the metered time. It has not been a holiday in our ordinances yet. It is something the mayor and I have talked about, and I'm planning to look at when we do our overall comp and pay study, because it is part of our plan to look at our holiday schedules, and so we are planning to look at it then. But in the meantime, we've had some frustrated users of the system, and it's been rather unfair to the parking office, who's out there trying to do the best they can and worked really hard on their image to have a positive relationship with the community, and it put them in a tough spot. And so one of the things that were brought to our attention is because it was referenced as a holiday, so we have these little stickers on the meters that talk about when you have to pay for parking, and it talks about not on holidays. And it also, there was an old reference in our website that hadn't been unpublished. And so for a variety of reasons, we decided that we should void the tickets that were given for expired metered time. There are people who will get tickets will still have their tickets if they remained over the 2 hours, because even in the holidays, we still monitor that. But for those that had put money in the meter or had expired time, we are going to void those in the system. We are also planning to bring forward an ordinance to add June 19th as a free parking day. We no longer call them holidays, we call them free parking days. And so we are going to be working the process to bring forward an ordinance for your consideration to add that as a free parking day to avoid confusion in the future and honor the day. And
Thank you.
that's it for me.
Thank you. Any questions for the manager? Okay, thank you for your report. We'll move on to section G now, boards and commissions.
Sorry,
We have a resignation.
I do, my packet's out of order. Nope, oh, wait. You've skipped something there. You skipped F.
I skipped F, acceptance of donations.
Yes, and we have two memorandums from our finance director. Both of them are dealing with donations. The first is a recommendation that the city council accept the donations below in the amount of $850, and that the city manager be authorized to use each donation in the manner specified by the donor.
And turn to Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers and seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers?
So here's the financial impact of all of the good work that the manager mentioned earlier about the event yesterday. Yeah, it has been 3 or 4 years, and it's been quite some time. I was there early, and it was getting busier and busier, but it's nice to hear that later on, despite the fact that it never really got cooler at all. But all of the city equipment and departments were well represented, and it would be nice for so many more people that could go down and have an opportunity to see what we have there for apparatus and be able to talk with the folks that operate it. One of Public Works fellows explained very carefully how to run a camera through a sewer line to my granddaughter. She was very interested until she heard what the pipe was, so. And, Mr. Airport Director, do we have a name yet for the truck? Oh, no. So it was a great night. There were a lot of things going on. So $850 in donations, cash, and then in-kind services. The best part was the ice cream, and ice cream again, napkins, water, hot dogs, buns, hot dogs, and then we had the use of the parking lot from PC Connection, which is a great coup. So please accept this gracefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from councilors? I think it's worth pointing out these employers in the city who step forward with their donations of food and finances, CNS, Wholesale Grocers, Hannaford's, Markham and Maj, and PC Connections for the use of the lot, Walmart, and want to thank the unions in the city, the city employees, local, AFT, the Ask Me County employees, the police department supervisors, Police Officers Association, and the International Association of Firefighters. They all made this event possible and cost less for the community. So thank you very much. We need to accept those donations. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And I guess I should also thank, for the Juneteenth event, the number of community organizations that stepped forward to sponsor that. I'm not going to go, I could, but I brought it. But I'm not going to do it because there are about 20 organizations that stepped forward with contributions for that event. The YMCA and Badger Balm were two prime co-sponsors to the city and the Human Resources Committee. So these events really do rely on a community effort, not just turning to the city manager to fund them.
And our second donation, again from the finance director, is the acceptance of a 9/11 memorial bench.
Councilor Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
So moved by Councilor Powers and second by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is quite a project. Any scouting project is always very important, and it's a very great project in the scouting system. But to be an Eagle Scout is it's a lot of work, and it certainly shows what this particular student, Scott Wade Plazowski, has done for the city and done to honor those that have lost their lives in 9/11 in New York. He gathered all of the information he needed, gathered the materials. He selected, with the help of folks here on the city staff, the right kind of trees to put out there, because these trees are going to grow, and they're going to be a nice addition to Hastings Avenue. And then in the center of it will be a memorial that's not quite set yet. So it's my understanding as soon as it's set, there'll be a nice ceremony out there, and you're all welcome to come when he's awarded his Eagle Scout. So because it is a gift to the city and it's coming onto our property, City Council needs to accept it, and I hope we unanimously will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. This is a very generous donation. He's titled this Survivor Tree Memorial Bench in honor of those who perished during the 9/11 2021 attacks on the country. So, let's see, if no further comments, all those in favor of accepting the gift? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, now, boards and commissions.
And we have a communication from Evans Clement. He is the staff liaison to the Heritage Commission, and he received a resignation via email from Susan DeGidio, who's been serving on the commission since 2010.
Yeah, Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to accept the resignation and communicate thanks and regret that we are losing the service of this individual.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald, seconded by Councilor Bosley. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
And a similar situation dealing with the Zoning Board of Adjustment and David Weigel, who's been an alternate to the zoning board, a rather short time, but he finds due to personal reasons he needs to resign.
Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Move to accept the resignation and communicate to the individual thanks for the time served and regret that he's no longer with us.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Greenwald, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Any further? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We have a report.
We have a single more time report this evening, and it is dealing with the communication from Attorney Thomas Hanna, looking to raise the issue of compensatory flood storage that's necessary on land that is being donated to the city of Keene at 0 Ashwilla Street.
And we'll grant more time for that consideration. Moving on to item I, ordinances for first reading.
And we have a memorandum from the city engineer, who's now our public works director. And it is providing for a stop sign on Water Street and Grove. And it is ordinance O 2024-11, an ordinance relating to the installation of stop signs on Water Street.
And we will file that report and refer that to municipal services for their consideration. Sorry, we're going to refer that to your committee.
Ordinance for second reading, we have, coming out of the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, it's the recommendation on the Sidewalk Cafe Enforcement Ordinance, and it is ordinance O 2024-06B. Committee is recommending the adoption of the ordinance. However, I just wanted to bring to your attention a Scribner's error on my part, and it is relative to an amendment that had actually occurred by the committee on the A version of the ordinance. And the error is actually on page 58, and it's on the ordinance, and it's at the very top line. And the amendment from Councilor Remy, and he was very clear in the amendment, I'm sorry how we forgot this, but the word in November needs to be stricken from that first sentence. So it would say, the city manager shall have the authority to extend all current licenses for additional 10-day timeframes, weather permitting. So take out the word in November. And what that is considered a Scribner's error, it will not adjust the prefix or the suffix of the ordinance, and it is before you as a B and recommendation for adoption.
Okay, Counselor Jones?
Thank you. I would move for the adoption of ordinance O 2024-06, and still a B.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Jones, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Counselor Jones for the committee.
We've been dealing with our sidewalk cafe ordinances for a long time now. Our new addition, Fire Marshal Rick Wood, made some very proper, looking forward to some of these happenings, amendments. It just makes it safer, it makes it more user-friendly, and you can see the amendments in your packet. We did hear from one citizen who complained about something that was happening in the past, and the good thing about it is, with this new language, it changes everything that her complaint was about, because hers was more of a communications issue, and now we have there's the self-service portal that all those complaints can go to when we have complaints about that. We did find out that there is one issue that happens with citizens and staff when they do make an inquiry to the New Hampshire Alcohol Commission. The way it goes through the channels up there, by the time it gets down to the enforcement inspector, it's called a complaint. And he shows up at the property saying, I'm here about a complaint, when it was actually just an inquiry. And I'm happy to tell you that staff is making arrangements for the Liquor Commission to come here and meet with the City Council and help us with guidelines and questions. So I think it's good for this ordinance and a couple of our other ordinances within the city.
I'd like to recognize the manager for a comment or two on this ordinance.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. One is related to the 10-day extension. I am interpreting this to mean that I could actually do 20 days in one extension. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because it is an administrative burden to keep notifying the license holders. So if it looks like 20 days is actually going to be okay, we may do a 20-day extension instead of just the 10. We do have the ability to pull the furniture out and end that extension if weather becomes an issue, so I think that we're safe in that regard. And then in regards to the liquor commissioner visiting, or their office visiting us, we actually intended that to be a meeting with the license holders, and the reason for that is because we would like the license holders to be able to ask questions, because I think oftentimes they think we're just saying it, and we want them to be able to ask their questions and understand exactly what is expected of them, and for us to be in the room and hear the same thing. So that was the intent, although certainly we could also ask them to come to a PLD. Our goal really was to make sure that we're communicating the same message that the Liquor Commission is communicating, and so we're looking to improve that moving forward.
Counselor Jones.
Can I just ask, the 10 days, is that in section
Yep.
461194A? Is that the 10 days you're talking
Yes.
about?
194A, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, no, there's
Well, it's
another one.
Because I think 10 days was mentioned twice in that ordinance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, is it, or is it in
So,
93?
yeah, I
Yeah.
So it is mentioned twice, and I'm not suggesting that we change the language. I'm just suggesting that I'm interpreting it to mean I could do 2 10-day extensions together. And that it depends on the weather, because there is a process here that talks about us needing to notify before the end of the 10-day extension. And I was just concerned in talking with the clerk's office about the administrative work that might cause, when in fact probably 2 10-day extensions in the beginning might work just as well.
If it works for you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Thanks for the process that's been used here. It's gotten several reviews by committee and staff, and glad we're coming to a vote on this. Seeing no further discussion, we'll take a roll call.
Counselor Posley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadwell?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Our second ordinance for second reading is dealing with the city's organizational chart. It is ordinance O 2024-10. Committee's recommending the adoption. And we have ordinance O 2024-10, an ordinance relating to the City of Keene organizational chart.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Adoption?
Adoption of ordinance 2024-10.
Also second.
Thank you.
Ordinance moved by Counselor Powers and seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Essentially, what this does is brings the chart, the written chart, up to speed with what all the changes that have been made in the organization in the last 2 or 3 months as the budget was built, people retired, new hiring came in, a number of steps that have gone on in the last few months. You got to have a chart, so this is bringing it up to the proper way it now stands as it sets now. And under the old one, you used to see 3 assistant city managers and various organizations reporting, and many times that changed a bit. But this goes to the current system, 2 deputy city managers. And it also takes out 1 commission that formerly was listed. The Agricultural Commission. It's no longer in existence. So we're up to speed, and we'll follow this in every day's work. So unanimously approved by the Finance Committee. Ask the council to do the same.
Comments from councilors? Counselor Jones?
If I'm reading this right,
Counselor Jones?
the city treasurer is an employee of the council?
I think in the charter it says that.
I think that's what it's intending to depict.
Yes.
Yeah, I recall this. I think technically it's correct, but it's relative to the charter, but I think we recognize that it has been delegated to the city manager to make that appointment.
It is combined
It's a
with the finance director.
That's correct.
It used to be a separate finance director and an independent, non-city employee
Right.
was the treasurer. Of the last 30, 40 years, it's now the same person holding both positions.
So it's an appointee.
A portion of the duties of the city finance director include the city treasurer's
Right.
duties.
Right.
So, we know that charter changes have to go before voters. So, I guess at some time, we might consider that, but
Yeah.
I don't think that it's urgent, given the way that those functions have merged.
I was just inquiring, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the explanation is, noteworthy. Counselor Haas?
Thank you, Your Honor. Since the Agricultural Commission is now going away, I'd ask that city staff remove it from the website as soon as possible, so we keep our website nice and clean and up to date.
We-
Thank you.
Yes, a good comment. Thank you for noticing. And I think that this chart is just a little bit ahead of our formal action in FOP. We've got a number of changes of membership, whether it's a council member appointed as a voting member on commissions, eliminating the Agriculture Committee. And that ordinance has been tabled so that we could have further consultation with a couple of committees that we're going to consider changes in their structure. Long story short, that has not yet been voted by the council. It will be in the next month, so all things will come together in the very near future. If there's no objection, no further, yes, Councilor Favelis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As long as we're asking clarifying questions about different parts of this, has the College City Commission been active for the past few years, or is that, okay?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It has not since 2021, and the final report that I've seen, but there's no further minutes since that date. We've had consultation with President Treadwell about a reformation, and that has not yielded a document that can be shared with, we just don't have the document at this point. So when we've got that, certainly we'll try to bring congruence between how best to use a city college commission. And just to give a little bit of background on it, I think that, because I helped write that as a college person, that it was written in a time when neighborhood college student kinds of conflicts were occurring. An Southeast Neighbors Association approached the city and the college and asked for greater cooperation with neighbors. The good news is that purpose has not been necessary of recent since COVID, and so it is timely to reconsider is there a basis for a city college commission, but again, that hopefully will be defined in the future, so not eliminating it yet. If no other comments, you do have a memo in front of you that comes from Andy Bohanon to the city manager addressing a question that came up at the FOP meeting about facilities management and where that function was residing, and the manager has shared that motion to address that for all counselors. Okay. Seeing no further comment, would the clerk call the roll?
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadwell?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving along to resolutions.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to the rescission of several special equipment purchase standardization resolutions from back in 2010. The Finance Committee is recommending the rescission of these 4 resolutions, and they do need to have separate votes, motions and votes, and we'll start off with Resolution R 2010-33, a resolution relating to special equipment purchase standardization.
Counselor Powers with a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption,
Recension.
reception
Rescission.
of Resolution R 2010-33.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Powers and Counselor Remy.
So these all came before us from the fire chief, and as they reviewed the policies they've been using, the policies the city has had most recently, it's been determined that in the best interest of the city is not to have this standardized resolution standing there as the way to do business, to make them in accordance with the purchasing system and working with the purchasing agent here that can really find the best deal for the city. That's his responsibility, and he knows how to do that very well. And he targets a lot of what has to be done for the city based on the federal purchasing system, which is advantageous most of the time. And then there's also a collection of agencies, particularly in the fire service, who've gotten together and formed an association where they work with vendors collectively to get the information for the various purchasers to come up with the best deal. And then the city would go out for purchase under the purchasing system versus these. So that was a recommendation, and I know there was one question raised that I think we ought to clear up before we start voting, but
Counselor Remy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the question on this one, which was around, one of the reasons you put in rules like this in this space is to make sure you don't end up with like 6 different types of tanks and 6 different types of wrenches that you have to maintain and all the different pieces and parts to go together with that. It's possible that that an ordinance or the resolution like this may come back at some point once we settle in on what our new standard is. But right now, what I've learned is this is restricting us from going out and shopping for what the right stuff that we need right now. So they want to be able to go out and look and shop the market a little bit differently and understand what the right tools are for us now. But something like this may come back to us at some point once we align on what that new standard is. I think that's.
You can't just go to Amazon, huh? So unlike in committee, we're going to need to take all of these resolutions individually. Counselor Jones?
Can I just ask a question? Does this process take away our ability to go through buying groups like we used to buy through the Houston Galveston Municipal Buying Group? Are we still able to do that?
Yes, we still are able to use buying groups.
Thank you.
Okay, we will need to take up the first rescinding resolution.
And these can be show of hands.
Okay, on Resolution 2010-33, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Now, we have Resolution R 2010-34, a resolution relating to the special equipment purchase standardization.
Counselor Powers for motion.
Recommend the rescission of R 2010-34.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers and seconded by Counselor Remy. If no additional committee report, Counselor Powers, right? We can move forward with the same. These are all similar. All those in favor of Resolution 2010-34, motion carries unanimously. Counselor Powers, yes?
And on to the next, I'll actually identify the piece of equipment. So Resolution R 2010-35, a resolution relating to special equipment purchase standardization. This one is for a Hearst extrication equipment.
And Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move for the rescission of Resolution 2010-35.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Seeing no further discussion. All those in favor of this resolution? Motion carries unanimously.
And our last one is Resolution R 2010-39, a resolution relating to special equipment purchase standardization. And this is for Globe structural firefighting gear.
Counselor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move for the rescission of Resolution 2010-39.
Second.
And all those in favor of rescinding this resolution, please raise your hand. And then motion carries unanimously. It's going to be unusual. We see Dale Preachin's name on future motions.
And on to another resolution. This is the retirement resolution for Ned, and it is Resolution R 2024-25, a resolution appreciation of Bernard Kapinskis upon his retirement.
And recognize Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-25.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Counselor Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution says an awful lot about Med. But does anybody really know Med? Well, he's quite a guy. You know, he has been here 24 years, and it certainly, as the resolution says, he has his finger on a lot of projects here. But did you know he's an expert in raising orchids? So he's going to be retired. He's going to have a lot of time. He knows how to build a great flower bed. So look him up, because he's not going to be real busy, because he only has 3 grandchildren that sort of keep track of him. And I understand he's already spoiled them, and he hasn't retired yet. He's a native of New York, and he served in the United States Army. And as the Army calls it, the MOS was intelligence. Yeah, Army intelligence. But, you know, he served over here at Fort Devens, just down the street from us. And when he got done, he was involved in various businesses and work, and he went to Florida. He was very busy in Florida. His wife and family moved there for about 18 years, and he was involved in construction, inspections, planning, building reviews, And he was doing it for some of the large cities and some of the counties. And he came to work for us in 2000. And for 24 years, he's brought that knowledge that he learned in some big places and from actually doing the hands-on work that have brought us to the point we are today. Talked to him a little bit about retirement, kind of compared a few notes, and I tried to warn him that he may not like it, because this guy's always been busy. But I'm sure you're gonna see him, because he walks to work every single day and stops and sees everybody along Main Street. So when you see him, say congratulations and thanks for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Powers. Any further comment on the resolution? I know Med has been an asset that, while we may not know the complete Med story, like orchids, he has been helpful to each of us in many ways. Seeing no further comments, by a show of hands, all those in favor of the resolution? And the motion carries unanimously. We now are going to consider items that relate to the fiscal 24-25 operating budget. We have a few items that on the June 6th council meeting were tabled, and I'll now ask that we take those items off the table so that we can act on these resolutions. And would the clerk please read Resolution 2024-20A.
This is Resolution R 2024-20A, a resolution relating to the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget, that the sum of $29,723,294 be raised.
Microphone.
Resolution R 2024-20A, a resolution relating to the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget, that the sum of $29,723,294 be raised by taxation during the current year, which together with $43,665,195 for estimated operating revenues aggregating $73,388,489 is hereby appropriated for the use of several departments of city government, and further that the sum of $5,788,812 be appropriated for capital expenditures and capital reserve appropriations in the city proprietary funds, funded by the use of capital reserves, fund balance, and current revenues for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-20A.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to move to amend the resolution and move it to now be Resolution 2024-20-A. And I will read, if I get a second, I will read the issues to bring us to that.
Which will be a B.
A, B.
you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see why you said that.
Thank you.
That's what I read. You put it in front of me. Okay, did I get a second?
Second, but I don't know if I need to listen to those first, but, yeah, second.
So, there,
We have so we have an amendment
yes,
uh,
I'm reading them.
proposed by Counselor Powers and seconded by Counselor Remy.
All right, as the final preparation for us this evening was worked in the last few days, it was discovered there was a couple of errors that need to be corrected. However, the bottom line number did not change one bit. So there are 3 budget adjustments that need to be brought forward. General Fund Facilities Maintenance Camera System, account number 65316200-523450 decreases by $9,000. Councilor Favoris noticed 2 different amounts between the department request and the city manager budget. The correct amount is $1,750 and not $10,750, resulting in a $9,000 decrease. In the sewer fund, electricity, account number 321-401-00-525030 is an increase of $1,502. There's several, all the rest have to do with electricity, and if you were part of the discussion or watched us on TV when we were working through the various steps in the budget, there were some savings that were brought forward when we went to bid for electricity. So it was kind of worked through the numbers as a gross amount. And as the final review went in, when it comes to these funds, it doesn't work that way, so you gotta kind of put it back where it belongs. Once again, the bottom line doesn't change. So it was $1,502 for the first one. The electricity account number 322-00079-525030 increases $11,103. And electricity account number 323-00083-525030 increases by $34,134. And due to the solar array, the sewer fund will not benefit from the lower rates as originally anticipated. In the water fund, electricity account number 342-402-00-525030 increases by $26,016. And the electricity account 343-000-84-525030 increases by $3,937, and this is due to the hydro turbine at the water fund doesn't benefit from the lower rates. It's our system. So these are items that need to be changed to make it official, and I recommend the adoption of the amendment. Thank you.
Okay, recognize the city manager.
So, thank you, Counselor, for catching that typo. That will reduce the general fund bottom line by the $9,000. And then in regards to the water and sewer fund, which as you know is a separate fund, we took too much out of their budget for electricity. So what happened is while we were going through the FOP process, we were also going through a request for bids for electricity for all of our accounts. When the bids came in, it was substantially lower, so we dropped our rate from just over 14 cents to just over 9 cents. And then the finance department allocated it across all of the electricity accounts by prorating it. But after we talked about it at FOP, we talked about it further, and the wastewater treatment plant is on the solar array and will not see the same benefit from this contract change. And then also, the turbines that we have in place are also make a difference in terms of how much savings we would have in both the water sewers. So we need to add the money back to those accounts, a portion of it. Now, the overall adjustment, it was still a savings of over about $102,000 with the new contract, so there was still a substantial savings. Overall, it did include the other funds, the smaller funds. So the general fund had the majority of the decrease, and then the smaller funds like the solid waste fund, the equipment fund had some additional minor decreases as well. So hopefully that answers your questions.
So I don't think this is as complicated as maybe it sounded. A $9,000 error caught by Councilor Favalise. Thank you for your review. And corrections because if we're generating power, we don't have a decrease from the electric rate. So
Correct.
those are the two changes essentially. They affect the bottom lines, which I think will be reflected in the final budget motions. So with that, We have an amendment on the floor to accept those changes, the reduction in the operating general fund and the additions to the water and sewer fund. Any further questions there? Do we need a
No, it's
Show
gonna
of
be a show.
hands.
show of hands? We will vote with a roll call on the final motion, yes?
No,
No?
show of hands.
Okay, very good. So all those in favor of amended? That carries unanimously, thank you. Back to the main motion.
That gives us Resolution R 2024-20B.
And do we want to call attention to the changes in the motion? And
I
all
can-
counselors have this, or you're just gonna? and now
I can
you-
read, why don't we read the resolution?
All right. Resolution R 2024-20B, a resolution relating to the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget, that the sum of $29,714,294 be raised by taxation during the current year, which together with $43,741,887 for estimated operating revenues, aggregating $73,456,181, is hereby appropriated for the use of several departments of the city government, and further, that the sum of $5,788,812 be appropriated for capital expenditures and capital reserve appropriations in the city's proprietary funds, funded by the use of capital reserves, fund balance, and current revenues for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024.
That is the main motion. Any further discussion on the main motion, which is 2024-20B? Counselor Philly.
Just wanted to make a couple of comments on here. We've been through a few of these. I want to thank Councilor Powers and the Finance Committee for going through the grinding work they do. I know, having chaired the Finance Committee in the past, as has Councilor Greenwald, it is not a very glamorous position to be in. You know, we all care about running the city and taxes at the same time, and it's just a brutal position to be in. I understand it, and I applaud not only Councilor Powers, but the entire Finance Committee. I think they've done yeoman's work this year. I've gone through the budget. I thought for sure I'd find something to cut, and if I did, we'd be cutting into the meat, because simply put, you wouldn't think it's a lean budget, but it's a lean budget. You know, with that said, you know, our tax is still too high. Yup, there's no question about it. But until the citizens of this city and the citizens of this state get down to the nitty-gritty and start holding the elected officials of the state of New Hampshire and the governor accountable, it's not going to change. We can do all we can. We can keep cutting and cutting and cutting and, you know, not hiring people and running short-staffed at our departments, but it's not going to change until things change up in Concord. You know, a perfect example is, and we've been through this now, is the homeless situation. You know, the policy is, you own them, and that's the policy. They come to your doorstep, you have to take care of it, and oh, by the way, we're not going to fund you. You know, another example that we've been talking about over the years is the pension and retirement fund, which used to be funded by the state. Now it's, you've got it, and that's dumped on us. And it's almost like the old boiling of the frog. If it just happens slowly, you won't notice. Well, it's happened slowly, but we noticed. And it's another thing over the past couple of years, and I've argued this many times, is the rooms and meals tax, where rather than adjusting it and giving us the 40% they owe us, in the middle of the night, they cut it to 30% and say, how do you like that? That's just another example. And of course, we all know that they continually short fund the schools, which the bottom line for our taxpayers is there's still one wallet back there that has to be paid. So with that said, basically it's not going to change unless we make changes up there. The tax rate right now in Keene and many other communities is at an unsustainable level. And until things change up there, it's going to get worse, not better. So once again, I might be preaching to the choir, but the people of this city and the people of this state need to get off their butts and make some changes up in Concord. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Filio. Any further comments from councilors? Seeing none, this is a hand vote. All those in favor of the amended? Yeah, sorry.
Try again.
All those in favor of Resolution 2024-20B as amended? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And I agree with the comments today. Appreciate the work of Counselor Powers and all of the Finance, Operations, and Personnel Committee members. Thank the work that the city manager put into this process, the details that are included in that budget book of all the considerations of requests and additions or corrections in the budget. And thank the city finance staff for their consistent work to try to bring this to conclusion with the committee. Thank you very much. Moving on.
An additional tabled item from our June 6th meeting is ordinance O 2024-08. That provides for the class allocation and salary schedules, which is, the funding is now included in the document you just adopted. So it is ordinance O 2024-08, an ordinance relating to class allocation and salary schedules.
Recognize Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of ordinance 2024-08.
Second.
So moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy.
Thank
Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the pay plan for the city of Keene. It covers non-union positions. It is based on a 3% increase in pay, except in a few positions, those hard-to-fill positions, part-time, seasonal, probationary positions, it may be 4% for a part-time person. It's not a lot of money, but it's something that's helping as they're going out and trying to find people to come to work here. So the 3%, while some might feel it's too much, others may feel it's not enough, it seems to be the right medium where to be. It's in line with what the contracts for those that are in the various unions are at right now and are moving as they move forward. So I think coming to this position at 3% is probably the best way, and is unanimously approved by the FOP, and I really hope that the council will do the same, because, next to honoring those employees that work for us when they retire or when they hit a milestone, this is probably the best thing we can do to keep, now that we've attracted them here, to keep them here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further comments on the salary schedule? Just remind us that this is a personnel vote, so the ordinance requires a 2/3 majority vote. And if there are no further comments or questions, would the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadwell?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. And a third motion relating to the budget.
These also are tabled at our June 6th meeting, and unfortunately, they will all need to be by roll call votes on each resolution. And we start off with Resolution R 2024-10, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the City Hall structural repairs.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-10.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers?
For each and every one of these, this is the financing of all the projects that have been approved, some of which may be in the CIP already, some were put to the budget process here. But now, as we get started on July 1st, some of the financing for the long-term one needs to be put together. It'll be bonded or borrowed under whatever program that the finance director finds to be most beneficial for the city. And it may not happen in June or in July, It'll be happening at the most appropriate time to ensure that we can move forward on every single one of them. That's all I'm gonna say about all of them, so.
Thank you, Council Powers. So we'll take up each one of these separately. And we'll come back around with a question later.
Microphone.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take up each one of these separately. We'll come back around, have opportunities to question these. All right, so
Ready?
this requires
Yep.
a roll call.
Roll call. Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
Counselor Tobin.
Yes.
Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Haas.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Madison.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Favelis.
Yes.
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counselor Powers.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Motion carries unanimously. Counselor?
Resolution.
Yes.
Resolution R 2024-11, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for Lower Winchester Street.
Counselor Powers?
Thank you, Your
Motion.
Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-11.
Second.
If there's no further discussion,
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
Counselor Tobin.
Yes.
Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Haas.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Madison.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Favelis.
Yes.
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counselor Powers.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Resolution R 2024-12, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Stormwater Resiliency Program.
Counselor Powers with a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-12.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Any further discussion?
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
Counselor Tobin.
Yes.
Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Haas.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Madison.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Favelis.
Yes.
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counselor Powers.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yes.
That motion carries unanimously.
Resolution R 2024-13, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Lower Winchester Street sewer utilities.
Counselor Powers for the motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt Resolution 2024-13.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy.
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
Counselor Tobin.
Yes.
Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Haas.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Madison.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Favelis.
Yes.
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counselor Powers.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yep.
Motion carries unanimously.
Resolution R 2024-14, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the Martel Court bypass.
Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt Resolution 2024-14.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Powers and seconded by Counselor Remy. Just to call your attention, I was chatting with the manager, and the answer to the question is on page 89 of 99. And there it is detailed by our finance director, the total amount of bonding that is being adopted with the sum of all of these motions. So just call that to your attention. I know I got a question from the community about the $12 million amount without having had in my head what the breakdown was for the general fund and the enterprise fund. So it is all part of the motion. So anyway, we are on the 2024-14. All those in favor?
With the roll call, Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
Tobin, Counselor Tobin.
Yes.
Sorry. Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filia.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones. Yes. Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Workman.
Yes.
Counsel Chadwell.
Yes.
Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Resolution R 2024-15, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the wastewater treatment plant HVAC replacement.
Council Powers with a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt Resolution 2024-15.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
Counsel Tobin.
Yes.
Counsel Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filia.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Workman.
Yes.
Counsel Chadwell.
Yes.
Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Resolution R 2024-16, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the wastewater treatment plant service water system upgrade.
Council Powers with a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're getting there. Move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-16.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Clerk call the roll.
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
Counsel Tobin.
Yes.
Counsel Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filia.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Workman.
Yes.
Counsel Chadwell.
Yes.
Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Resolution R 2024-17, a resolution related to the appropriation of funds for the Lower Winchester Street water utilities.
Council Powers with a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Moved for the adoption of Resolution 2024-17.
Second.
Moved by Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
Counsel Tobin.
Yes.
Counsel Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filia.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Workman.
Yes.
Counsel Chadwell.
Yes.
Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Resolution R 2024-18, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the water distribution improvements.
Council Powers with a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move for the adoption of Resolution 2024-18.
Second.
Moved by Council Powers and seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers, thank you for getting us through that. Any further comments? Would the clerk call the roll?
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
Counsel Tobin.
Yes.
Counsel Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filia.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Workman.
Yes.
Counsel Chadwell.
Yes.
Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yeah.
And that motion carries unanimously. Yes, we have reached the end of our regular agenda. We will have a brief recess and then go into non-public session. Thank you very much. Yes, please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. So you think it's over.
Counselor Greenwald with a motion.
Move to go into a non-public session to discuss the hiring of any employee as a public employee under NHRSA 91-A:3, I never know, 2 L's and a B.
B.
Biology.
Okay, we've got a motion made by Counselor Greenwald, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Bosley.
Yes.
Counsel Tobin.
Yes.
Counsel Remy.
Yes.
Counsel Filio.
Yes.
Counsel Williams.
Yes.
Counsel Haas.
Yes.
Counsel Jones.
Yes.
Counsel Madison.
Yes.
Counsel Roberts.
Yes.
Counsel Favelis.
Yes.
Counsel Lake.
Yes.
Counsel Workman.
Yes.
Counsel Chadwell.
Yes.
Counsel Powers.
Yes.
Counsel Greenwald.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Now we can go into a brief recess.
Thank you.